everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'll be breaking down the match I had versus Cheese in the Pokefind dual type tournament. Now I decided to use the Balloon team, and if you guys want to see the breakdown video for that, then I'll link that as well. But the basic idea for this team is it counters rain as well as anti-rain teams very nicely, and from the previous tournaments, I know that Cheese loves using rain and has found a lot of success in them as well. So that's the reason why I decided to use this team, expecting him to use something similar to that. So yeah, let's start the video. And he leads with Pelipper, my bad, and that's the best lead we could see from my point because my team count is rain. So I'm always happy to see leads like these, which are beneficial for me. I should have gone for Spore here, but I expected him to go into Ludicolo to tank that. So yeah, I just stay in, and he decides to go for Hurricane, and he doesn't get a confusion, which is actually great for me. I do lose my Sash, but like it's fine. Now at this point, again, the second misplay was I should have gone for like Spore or Force Palm because no one is going to throw their Weather Setter early on because that's just super important to win the game. You have to keep your Weather Setter as healthy as possible. So yeah, he goes into Scizor and tanks it pretty nicely, and based on the damage, I know that he's a default Scizor. So I switch my Breloom expecting him to go for like BP, but unfortunately for me, he goes for the U-turn, which is pretty bad. Actually, if I was in Shed Shell, because as you guys can see, he goes into his Magnezone now. Thank God I'm Shed Shell, so like I don't care about the Magnezone. I always have my Quagsire to tank anything that his Magnezone is going to throw out at me, and yeah. He goes for the Volt Switch, which is just completely fine with me. I go for Scald here because the rain turns are still on, and I could fish for a burn on something like a Sizzle coming in. So yeah, Scald was obviously the best play, and I could Earthquake, but like he's obviously going to switch out. So yeah, Scald was always the play I had to go for. He goes into his Veloom, and I luckily get the burn on him. And you guys are going to be seeing soon like why this turn is so important. You guys can see Cheese is not happy now. You guys see in chat it says but it failed. Now the reason it says but it failed is because this Breloom is a Toxicor Breloom. Now Toxicor Breloom just toys my team. Like I'm gonna show you guys really quick once the screen pops up. Yeah, as you guys can see, my team was prepared versus offensive Breloom, but like Toxicor Breloom I had not expected, and it destroys me because my Breloom is at 1 HP. My Skarmory, even though it walls it, and he can Spore me and just bulk up sweep me from there. My Quagsire isn't going to do anything versus it. I need my Tentacool for whatever Rain Sweeper he has in the back. Magnezone again might not even counter it because most Balloons are SpDef oriented, so Flash Cannon might not even KO it. And Revival again, it's just a check. It won't do much as he might even have something like Mach Punch. So yeah, I always go into my Skarmory expecting him to go for a Spore, and he goes for a Seed Bomb, which is, well, a decent play in case I would stay in and expect and over predict him to like switch out. But yeah, next turn he just goes for Spore while I go for Wax. Now a small disclaimer that this is one of the more boring games because both I and Cheese know that it's important for us to win at this point if we want to like go on for the future semi-final matches. And so yeah, both of us are like playing their best, trying to play it safe, not taking as much risk as possible. So yeah, I always stay in. I could have made the aggressive Magnezone play, but again, didn't want to risk anything. Just want to play it safe, and at this point, I just stay in and just keep spamming the hazards because I know for a fact that spikes and Still Talk PP combined is more than even a PP max defog. So that's the reason why I always stay in, and force him to defog and get his defog PP as low as I possibly can. So yeah, this is the boring part. We just stay in and just keep spamming hazards and just keeps going for defog. So I'm just gonna skip this part a bit. And yeah, he goes for bullet punch just to save his defog PP. So yeah, just gonna take it a bit forward, and yeah. Okay, so at this point I get my stealth walks up, and he gives up and goes for the U-turn because he has to save his defog PP. And he U-turns into his Magnezone once again, and I, like I said, always go into my Quagsire. That's the best play I have versus Magnezone, and that's the only reason why Quagsire is on this team, is for Magnezones and any kind of setup mons. So yeah, so even though it's a resist, Flash Can does a lot of damage to me, so I have to recover. Like, Quagsire has to be on full health to counter Magnezone, otherwise I can't. So I can counter Magnezone otherwise. So yeah, he goes for Scizor once again. I recover, and the same thing repeats itself. I actually go for Scald first before going to Skarmory, because I really don't want to like try and like make it a boring match for us going for hazards and defogs. So I try and fish for the burn. I unfortunately don't get it, so I go for my Skarmory again and just again try and pressure him with the hazard. So yeah, I'm just waiting on Cheese at this point, and I actually kind of forgot what he went for at this point. I think he makes a double actually into Pelgo, which is a great play by him, expecting me to go Skarmory. So yeah, now at this point I would go Magnezone, but I did not have any info on if he was Roost or not. If I knew he was Roost, I would always go Magnezone, but I didn't know if he was Roost, so my play was to always go Tentacruel, just to scout out and see what his last move is, because if he is knockoff, then losing an item is like pretty unfortunate for me, especially on something like Magnezone. So that like Specs is super good if I can like KO his ground type. So yeah, he reveals boost, so I know that he doesn't have knockoff, so yeah, that's pretty good for me, and I can throw out my own knockoff against anything that comes in, because yeah, getting rid of Damp Rock is good because that means lesser turn of rain. And even if let's say he would have gone Scizor on the knockoff, he would have lost his Shed Shell, meaning that my Magnezone can trap him later on. Now he goes Quadont, which is super scary because my team has no counter for Quadont. It only has a check in Breloom, which is on 1 HP, so I can't even check it at this point. It's only as a sack, so yeah, I cannot get my Tentacruel faint because that's the only thing keeping me alive at this point. So I needed the Quagsire for his Magnezone, so sacking Breloom was the only play there, and yeah, he goes for knockoff and reveals that he is Life Orb, which is actually pretty good for us because him taking that chip really helps out for my reval. As you guys see, I'm calculating in the back how much does a Bandit low kick do versus his Quadont, because now you guys might say like Revive is a great mon, like knockoff Revive is super good, especially when the only counter your opponent has is like a defensive Scizor, because even if you like don't want to KO it with knockoff, you're gonna get rid of that Shed Shell, which means that Magnezone is gonna trap it, and they pretty much have to U-turn every turn after they come in, because otherwise they're risking just the Magnezone coming in and trapping it. So yeah, but again, like I had to kill this Quadon because even if I can keep Viva alive, there's no point, because if this Quadon is just going to sweep my team. So the play was to always just go into Revive and just click low kick and see how much damage it does from there. And yeah, that's what I did. I was gonna click knockoff expecting him to switch out, but that would have just been a choke and an over prediction by my side, so I just decided to play safe and just hit what's in front of me. So yeah, let me just fast forward this a bit. Cheese actually stays in with his Coron and goes for a Crab Hammer on my low kick. And as you guys can see, low kick doesn't actually KO the Coron, it lives barely, and Crab Hammer manages to get the KO, but faints itself eventually, which is a good trade for me. Like I said, getting rid of Coron for V1 is a good trade because I have counters for his other mons as well. So yeah, luckily for me he goes Scizor at this point. So I'm ahead at this point, and mons wise as well as the pressure wise I'm ahead right now. And I go for Flash Cannon because I don't know if he has a ground type or no. But he goes for Magnezone, which sucks for me because he's Magnet Pull, so like I can't switch out. And I'm Spec, so I'm forced to just click Flash Cannon. And yeah, I just have to click Flash Cannon. He can T-Bolt and wear me down, but he goes for Flash Cannon as well. At this point I was confused why he went for Flash Cannon, but Cheese must have thought that I'm Shed Shell as well, so that's why he must have gone Flash Cannon, predicting me to go into his Quagsire maybe. That's the only reason I can think why he would stay in and just click Flash Cannon instead of Thunderbolt. So yeah, at this point Cheese decides to switch out to this Magnezone, revealing that he's Shed Shell. Now that's the second thing, that why would he want Shed Shell, especially in a dual type tournament, as Magnezone's one Shed Shell mostly for only like Duck Trails and stuff, but like those are not even allowed this tournament. So I'm guessing he must have bought it for like Magnezones and stuff. So yeah, at this point let's go Skarmory and just continue getting the hazard pressure up. And I'll fast forward this as well because again it's just the same thing, him getting hazards and defogging. So yeah, he actually U-turns into his Ludicolo. So yeah, after switching out, I go always into my Tentacool at this point. For whatever move he goes, I always wall him. So yeah, he goes for the Surf and does nothing. Like that's outside of Vayne, I know, but like still it doesn't do enough, and I just can get a free Toxic Spike up because this Toxic Spike is gonna be so crucial, and you guys are gonna see why later on. He goes into his Breloom expecting me to go to Sack, maybe go for a Poison type move, but the only offensive move I have is like Knock Off. So yeah, I always go into my Skarmory on the Spore because that's the best thing I have, especially to take the Spore. Like I said, I would rather take the Spore on the Skarmory than take it on my Tentacool, as Tentacool is super important on this team. The second it faints, it's GG. So yeah, just waiting at this point. I go into my Skarmory on the Spore, and this is another turn I could have made a double because he was probably going to go into Scizor trying to defog off the Toxic Spike. So I was thinking to go into my Magnezone countering that, but I decided to just play it safe and just stay in with the Skarmory and just try and wake up from there, because I didn't want him to go into Magnezone like last time and just trap me, because now that I've discovered that he has no ground types, my Magnezone is just super good here. So just wanted to keep my Magnezone as healthy as possible, so I decided to stay in and just go for the hazard pressure once again. He does switch out and goes into Magnezone. So yeah, a good play by me, not trying to be greedy and taking advantage of the situation. So yeah, I always go into Quagsire. This is just no second thought on this. He goes for Flash Cannon, and unfortunately for me, he gets the Spadef drop. Now this sucks because him getting a Spadef drop means that the next Flash Cannon always kills. So I either had to sack Quagsire or I had to go into my Magnezone. I decided to go in my Magnezone because he is going to go Flash Cannon this next turn, I know that for sure. And we put the pressure right back on him because, like I said, he has no ground type, so every single time now my Magnezone comes in, it's going to pick up a KO, which is super important for me. I go for Thunderbolt. Specs Thunderbolt manages to pick up the KO on his Magnezone, and I get a lucky crit. Now, the crit might have mattered, but again, every single time my Magnezone comes in, picks up a KO, so like, it's fine. The crit was lucky on my part, but again, um, it wouldn't have really mattered much because it would have been a 2-hit KO anyways. So yeah, he goes into his Scizor, and this is where the Toxic Spike comes into play. Like, me having that Toxic Spike up means that he cannot go into his Ludicolo as it's gonna get poisoned, so he is forced to bring his Scizor to defog and come in on that Specs Thunderbolt. So yeah, we had to go into Scizor. I just stay in and go for another Thunderbolt, and we get the power, which is again super lucky for me. Like, I'm just being so lucky at this point, it's insane. I go for T-Bolt again, and he has to sack something at this point. He decides to sack his Prelude because he needs Scizor around for the Skarmory, otherwise just the hazards are gonna get him. So yeah, good play by him by keeping his Scizor alive. Most players would just sack their Scizor because it's already paralyzed, but keeping the Scizor was the better play at that point. So yeah, well done by Cheese for finding that. Now, Cheese has to be offensive here because like I said, every single time Magnezone comes in, it's getting a KO. So he has to take measures into his own hands and start attacking, and that's what he does. He decides to go offensive and goes on into Ludicolo. Now, fun fact, my Magnezone is timid max speed, so I actually speed tie with this Ludicolo, and Cheese doesn't know about it because most Magnezones on the server are like Modest Specs or Modest Scarf. Modest Scarf T-Bolt obviously doesn't KO, so Modest Specs is what Cheese might have thought I am, so that's the reason why he must have gone into Ludicolo, and he makes a great play right here, going for Energy Ball. Now, even though it's Life Orb Energy Ball, like I said, my Tentacool always walls it, and at this point I just go for Knockoff instead of the Toxic Spike because, like I said, the Toxic Spike was super good previously, but I was scared in case he would get a Energy Ball crit. So getting rid of the Life Orb really means that outside of Rain, my Magnezone can always clean up. So he goes for the Scald, and I go for the Toxic Spike. Now, if he would have got the burn, that would have made things tougher for me. So yeah, I can let him burn my Tentacool, so I just decide to go into Quagsire at this point and sack it because the only jump Quagsire had was versus the Magnezone. So now that the Magnezone has fainted, I can always sack the Quagsire, and that's what I do. I go Quagsire, and he decides to go for the U-turn, which is a good play by him, keeping the offensive momentum, and he goes into his Scizor once again, trying to get rid of that Toxic Spike. Now, again, a misplay by me, the third misplay by me actually. I should have actually gone straight into my Magnezone because I know that he was gonna either go for a Roost or like Defog. So if I would have gone into my Magnezone at that point, I could have easily just picked up that Scizor and would have probably still had that Toxic Spike up. But I actually don't do that, so yeah, I realized it too late that I need to go into the Magnezone, and this is where I go into my Magnezone and just trying and getting another KO, and he goes for Boost again. So yeah, he's in the same scenario again where he has to stay in and defog because otherwise he's just going to lose. His Ludicolo is his last win con, and Specs Thunderbolt does a lot, and yeah, again he has to sack him on either his Pelipper or his Scizor. At this point, I personally would sack the Pelipper because the Pelipper is just only for the weather setting, so you just set the weather, bring out your Ludicolo and start firing from there and hope for some crits. But yeah, he sacks his Scizor instead, which is just fine, again. Now, again a misplay by Cheese, I would say. He should have gone into like Pelipper and take Sackett, but yeah, because like I said, it's a speed tie, and if I win this, it's all over for him anyway. So yeah, I'm just calculating just to make sure that it's actually a speed tie, because I know for a fact that from the range he is, a Life Orb Surf won't KO me. So yeah, just making my final calculations at this point, and I go for the T-Bolt, and luckily I win the speed tie, and his Ludicolo has fainted, and that's game for me. Well played by Cheese, and yeah, that's GG. I was so happy at this point that I could beat Cheese because he's a very strong player, and yeah, you guys see me celebrating right there. So yeah, a few things about this match. I made few misplays by not playing aggressive. I was playing too safe. If I would have played aggressive, then I would have given my opponent a less chance to bounce back from the pressure that I created. And the turning point was definitely the burn on the balloon. If I wouldn't have burned the balloon, then the match would have been something else. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is the breakdown of the match I had versus Cheese, and I'll see you guys in the round 4 match. Bye.